Welcome to this episode of Vote Like a Texan. I'm excited to be sitting here with Jason Cahill, who's running for Congressional District 21, which is a fun primary race that we're going to see between now and March 3rd because it's Chip Roy's seat currently in Texas, and there's a lot of competition in the primaries. Jason Cahill, thank you for joining us today.
Oh, thanks, Justin. Appreciate it. And if I just may take one quick moment to make just one minor correction for you, it is not Chip Roy's seat. It is your seat. It's the people's seat. That always gets terribly forgotten so often. Chip Roy is our representative, just as I'm seeking to be your representative up in Washington. And
exactly why we're having these conversations. It's a good reminder to me that that's the way it is. And when we think about it, and when we have context conversations over the holidays when we're all with family and friends, that will serve as a good reminder to many that it is their seat. And more the reason they need to show up on March 3rd and have their voice heard at the first of a series of votes to decide who goes into this seat. But let's talk about Congressional District 21. You're a candidate in that district. How'd you decide to run? How did you get to this position?
Well, there was kind of two catalysts, I guess you could say, that kind of made my decision to run very easy. I have not been in politics my entire life. I've had zero political ambition. I've been a politician now for what is today, the 16th. So we'll add 61 days on there. So I've been a politician for 77 days now. My whole life, I've had nothing. I wanted nothing to do with politics. But I did see that Chip Roy announced his retirement, and I found out about 45 days after everybody else did, so to speak. I guess he announced mid-August, and I found out it was the 23rd of September that he announced his retirement. And truth be told, I saw the field of the people that were coming out to represent us, to represent my family, to represent my friends, to represent the Hill Country. And I'm not supposed to say, I'm not supposed to say I was angry. I'm not supposed to make a decision from a place of anger. I was very, very concerned for the Hill Country. But the truth is I know very well that there are people in this world that take advantage of good people. And it was blatantly obvious to me that there was a number of candidates that were coming out to serve themselves. And I couldn't abide by that. And I couldn't abide by that because I have 4 young children. And my 4 young children, like the rest of us, they didn't get to choose who their parents were. You didn't get to choose your parents. You didn't get to choose your upbringing. You didn't get to choose your fate, so to speak, in this life until you became an adult. I get a say in their future, and I don't like the way that future is looking. I looked at the way the world looked 2 years ago, and it was not a warm place. It was not a comfortable place for people with good Christian values or people who wanted to stand up for their personal rights, their civil liberties. And if you spoke out in school about how your children were being taught or social issues, you were targeted. There was indoctrination in elementary school, which is wrong on all levels. We are a nation of freedom of choice. If you want to go and live your life a certain way, you have the right to go do that. What you do not have the right to do is indoctrinate children into that way of life. As you're an adult, you can do that. I still don't like the trajectory that you're on. Financially, we're $38 trillion in debt, and my children are going to inherit a bankrupt nation. You and I are going to inherit a bankrupt nation if we don't make a change. And it got to a point where we have plenty of people that will complain about the system. There's plenty of people that will have problems with the system and want to make change, but very few people actually step up to make that change and actually have ideas that can make change. And I've decided that I'm going to make that change. I've been a CEO. I've been a veteran. I've understood struggles. I've lived an entire life, a gambit from coming from nothing to having what I consider everything. I live a dream come true. I am the American dream because I've lived it. I've struggled for it, and I understand it. And I want other people to have those experiences. And unless we do something different, we're not going to.
So what are some of those new ideas that you're bringing to the district as you're launching your campaign? What would you say your top priorities are?
The top priority, of course, they're going to have the talking points that every Republican candidate is going to have, from immigration on down. But the real issue that I have found is that so many of us consider government to be a solution, and government is not the solution. Government is the problem, and it needs to get out of our way. The fiscal conservative is a huge issue, and all of the other issues stem from that. We spend too much money, we spend more than we have, and we do not spend our money wisely. Therefore, everything suffers from that, from health care to immigration to education funds to military to defense. Across the board, everything has to suffer because we don't know how to balance budgets. We don't have people in there that understand how to run businesses, how to run profit and losses, how to do balance sheets. The Pentagon has never passed an audit. In what world would this work? This is the only world, and the U.S. federal government is the only world that type of behavior can continue to exist. And the system can't be torn down, but it has to be rebuilt. The laws that worked for World War II, the things that were passed, the social issues for the 50s and 60s, those don't necessarily apply to today, to 2025. And we have to be able to have somebody that can go through there and do a true audit of our government, from laws to spending across the board, and get rid of the things that are inefficient and that hurt everyday Americans.
So as you've gone out across the campaign trail, what have you learned, and how do you define this district? Where, if somebody's not familiar with the Texas Hill Country and Congressional District 21, it's diverse. But what have you been hearing out there?
So those are two questions right there. So what have I been seeing out there? And the one thing I've seen is one thing I've always known, which is why I was running, is the people in the Hill Country are the most amazing people. That's why we live in Boerne. That's why I live in Boerne. My family chooses to live in Boerne. Is the people cannot be matched anywhere in the world. They are the true heart and soul of the Hill Country. It's amazing, the Christian values, how people are raising their children, how they treat each other. We can argue over football call or bad call at high school football or any of the T-ball games, and the boys can get riled up about it. But your same adversary, your same adversary, the next day will see your wife and she has a flat tire. He'll pull over and they'll change that tire, and you'll hear about it for a week. The people here are just genuinely great, amazing people. What I have seen across has opened my eyes is how much infighting there is in the conservative party and the Republican Party. Being an outsider, I've never considered how many clans, the MAGA movement, the MAGA conservative, the Christian conservative, the ultra conservative, the Tea Party conservative, the moderate conservative. I didn't realize there was so many ways to be conservative. I look at it as a tunnel that we're going through, a mountain, so to speak, and I have to get to the other side of that tunnel. Now, whether or not you're on the left side of the highway or the right side of the highway, that to me doesn't really matter. Nobody's ever going to get 100% of what they want, and that's the purpose of legislation, of making deals, of moving the country forward. And that is something that we have seen over and over again on both left and right, just comes to a grinding halt. And that can't be that way anymore. And I'm seeing that here in the Hill Country, and it's very, very, very disappointing. I've been able to navigate that because I have no political anchor, so to speak. I've been able to navigate that realm really, really well, and I don't consider myself either one. I am a conservative, but I tell people this is who I am, this is what I stand for. You can decide which camp to put me in.
And I mentioned it earlier, but I want to go back to it is a series of elections. It is the primary. It is more than likely a runoff, and then it is November.
Yes.
And you're going to be on a campaign trail almost every evening. You're going to have events, I'm sure. Yeah. But how do we inspire voters to turn out? Because those May elections, I've historically seen very low turnout because I don't think the everyday voter understands, well, we just had an election in February. I'm exhausted. The signs are everywhere. What's this election about? So how do you look at that as an outsider when you think about voter turnout and inspiring that long-term voter? It's
very difficult to do because I'm one of those voters who is guilty of that as well. In the general election, I would show up for the general elections, but the truth be told, I would never. I would very rarely. I would never show up for the primary elections. I was too busy working. I was too busy involved with family. I was too busy with just regular life, like so many, like everyone, like very, very many other people. There are the activists. There are people who do follow it. There are people who do show up for every election, and that's great. And that's something that. I guess to my regret, so to speak, that I haven't been as involved in, but I don't shy away from it. I don't run away from it. In the general election, there's generally in the Hill Country around 450 to 500,000 voter turnout. In a primary, we'll get 75,000 max. Normally, the average is around 70,000 for a primary, and then in the runoff, 30,000 maximum. So there's a big disparity in those. And the only thing we can't make people go vote. The best we can do is educate and advocate. My pastor said this last week in church, that do you have a good friend that is close to you but is far from God? As Christians, it's our job to try to get them to come to church, try to introduce them, and try to bring them close into our circle. I would say it's the same thing with voters. If you know somebody who should vote and do it, talk to them, try to get them out. And I know it's not easy, and I admit this wholeheartedly. I was one of the ones that's the problem. I didn't go out and vote either, and I do understand it. Everyone has life to live. It's not always easy to. It's convenient to say it. It's not always convenient to do it.
Absolutely. And so I just want to celebrate our candidates as they go into this season, because it is doing it. You're going to be in a marathon of events, interviews, conversations. You're meeting a lot of people. How can people find you and learn more about you as you go into that season?
To find me, you can go to our website, which is cahillforcongress.org, all spelled out. Or you can find us on the socials. Search for Jason Cahill for Congress. You'll find us on Facebook, and that will lead to also the Instagram and the X account. You can contact us directly. You can contact me directly at jcahill@cahillforcongress.org, and we try our best to try to get back to people. That's the job, is serving the people, understanding what the community. I am seeking to be your representative, so I have to hear from you. And that's the goal. It's hard to actually have someone understand who you are with these short videos or these 2-minute stump speeches. A lot of it is just following the person, seeing where they show up. Do they show up? Are they a member of our community? And try to figure out who that person is that you can get behind and support.
What is your tagline going into this campaign? If you want somebody to remember one thing from this interview, what's that going to be, and where are they going to see it and apply it?
Well, it's not so much a tagline as much as a campaign motto is truth is my platform. I'm going to tell the truth, and it's not always pretty. It's not always what you want to hear, but in order to have solutions, you have to hear the truth. And so many politicians I have seen over and over, and we've all seen it. You ask them a question and they spin the question and they talk about what they want to hear. I'm here to talk about the actual issues and try to talk about the solutions that I have to get those issues. Those solutions are not always going to be covered in sugar and have a nice pretty bow wrapped around them. We've gotten to a place where to make things change, to get better, will be painful.
Well, Jason Cahill, thank you for your service in running for Congressional District 21. It is a team sport. I know there's a lot of people making that possible for you. We appreciate getting to know you. We look forward to seeing you on the trail, and good luck in this year's campaign.
No, thank you, Justin. I appreciate it.
Have a good day.
You too. Thank you.